Ed Sullivan stood frozen outside his office door at CBS, listening to a phone conversation that made his stomach turn with shock and disgust. It was January 14, 1970, and through the slightly open door, he could hear Diana Ross speaking in hushed tones to someone who was clearly not Mary Wilson or Cindy Birdsong. "I don't care what Barry promised them," Diana was saying, her voice cold and calculating. "The Supremes are finished after tonight's show. This is my career now, not ours. Make sure the contracts are ready to sign tomorrow morning." Ed realized he was overhearing the secret planning of one of the most ruthless betrayals in music history. Diana Ross was using the Ed Sullivan Show as her platform to announce her departure from the Supremes without telling her closest friends and musical partners. What Ed did next would expose the dark side of success and prove that even America's sweethearts could become monsters when fame and money were at stake. Before you hear this shocking story, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to witness is how Ed Sullivan discovered that the music industry's most beloved group was being destroyed from within by greed and ambition. To understand why Ed Sullivan was so horrified by Diana's secret phone call, you need to understand what the Supremes represented to American music and culture by January 1970. They weren't just another successful singing group. They were a cultural phenomenon that had broken down racial barriers and become symbols of elegance, sophistication, and unity. Their success had inspired millions of young black women and had shown America that African American artists could achieve mainstream success while maintaining their dignity and grace. The Supremes had appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show more than any other Motown act, with over 15 appearances since their breakthrough in 1964. Ed had watched them evolve from three young women from Detroit's Brewster Douglas housing projects into the most successful female group in music history. But he had also noticed troubling changes in the group's dynamics over the past 2 years. Diana Ross, who had always been the lead singer and the most prominent member of the group, had gradually begun to overshadow Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong in ways that went beyond her natural role as the focal point of their performances. The group had been renamed Diana Ross and the Supremes in 1967, a change that had clearly created tension and resentment among the other members. "There's something different about Diana now," Ed had confided to his wife Sylvia after the Supremes' previous appearance in late 1969. "She used to be part of the group, one of three friends who sang together and supported each other. Now she acts like she's the star and the other two are just backup singers." You can see the hurt in Mary's eyes when Diana completely ignores her during interviews. But what Ed hadn't realized was the extent of the behind-the-scenes manipulation and planning that was occurring. Berry Gordy at Motown Records had been secretly developing Diana's solo career for months while publicly maintaining the fiction that the Supremes would continue as a group. The January 14, 1970, Ed Sullivan Show appearance was intended to be the vehicle for announcing Diana's departure, but Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong had not been told about the timing or the manner of the announcement. The secret phone call Ed overheard revealed the cold calculation behind what was about to happen. Diana wasn't just leaving the group, she was orchestrating a public betrayal that would humiliate her former friends and partners on national television while ensuring that she received maximum publicity for her solo career launch. "The contracts have to be ironclad," Diana continued in her hushed phone conversation. "I don't want Mary or Cindy having any legal claims on the Supremes' name or royalties after tonight. This is a clean break and I want to make sure they understand that their careers with me are over." Ed felt sick as he listened to this conversation. He had always known that the music industry could be ruthless, but he had never imagined that someone he had considered a friend and had featured repeatedly on his show would be capable of such calculated cruelty toward people who had been like sisters to her. Ed quietly closed his office door and tried to process what he had just heard. In 6 hours, the Supremes would take the stage for what Diana had secretly planned as their final performance together, but Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong would be walking into an ambush that would destroy their friendship and their careers on live television. Ed faced an impossible moral dilemma. He could warn Mary and Cindy about what Diana was planning, potentially preventing the public humiliation but also betraying Diana's trust and possibly derailing her solo career launch. Or he could remain silent and allow the betrayal to proceed, making himself complicit in what he knew would be a devastating emotional assault on two women who had given their lives to the Supremes. After struggling with the decision for 2 hours, Ed made a choice that would define his relationship with Diana Ross for the rest of his career. He called Mary Wilson's hotel room and asked her to meet him privately at CBS an hour before the scheduled taping. When Mary arrived at Ed's office, she seemed excited about the evening's performance and completely unaware of the devastation that was about to unfold. "Mary," Ed said gently, "I need to tell you something that you're not going to want to hear, but that you need to know before tonight's show." Mary's expression changed from excitement to concern as she heard the serious tone in Ed's voice. "Mr. Sullivan, what's wrong? Is there a problem with the show?" Ed took a deep breath and told Mary exactly what he had overheard. He explained Diana's secret phone call, the solo career contracts, and the plan to use the Ed Sullivan Show as the platform for announcing the end of the Supremes without giving Mary or Cindy any advance warning. Mary's face went through a series of emotions: shock, disbelief, hurt, and finally anger. "Are you sure about this, Mr. Sullivan? Diana wouldn't do this to us. We've been together for 10 years. We're like family." "I'm sure, Mary," Ed said sadly. "I heard her talking about the contracts being signed tomorrow morning and about making sure you and Cindy understand that your careers with her are over. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but I couldn't let you walk into that situation unprepared." Mary sat in stunned silence for several minutes, clearly trying to process the magnitude of Diana's betrayal. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "How could she do this to us? How could she plan to humiliate us on national television after everything we've been through together?" Ed felt helpless as he watched Mary struggle with the reality of Diana's calculated betrayal. "Mary, what do you want to do? I can cancel tonight's appearance if you don't feel able to perform under these circumstances." Mary straightened in her chair, and Ed could see a new determination forming in her expression. "No, Mr. Sullivan. We're not going to let Diana destroy the Supremes' legacy by turning our final performance into her personal drama. Cindy and I are going to go out there tonight, and we're going to perform with the dignity and professionalism that the Supremes have always represented." Ed admired Mary's strength, but he also worried about how she and Cindy would handle the emotional stress of performing while knowing they were being betrayed. "Are you going to tell Cindy?" "I have to," Mary replied. "She deserves to know what's happening. But we're going to handle this like professionals. Diana may be ending the Supremes, but she's not going to destroy our dignity in the process." The January 14, 1970 taping of The Ed Sullivan Show proceeded with an undercurrent of tension that was invisible to the studio audience but painfully obvious to anyone who knew what was happening behind the scenes. Diana performed with her usual polished professionalism, but there was a coldness in her interactions with Mary and Cindy that suggested she knew her secret was no longer secret. Mary and Cindy, for their part, performed with remarkable grace and dignity despite the emotional devastation of knowing they were participating in their own professional funeral. Their harmonies were perfect, their choreography was flawless, and their smiles never faltered, even though Ed could see the pain in their eyes. During the performance of their hit "Someday We'll Be Together," the irony of the lyrics was almost unbearable. Here were three women singing about eternal friendship and unity, while one of them had already secretly arranged for the destruction of their partnership. When the performance ended, Diana stepped forward to make the announcement that Mary and Cindy now knew was coming. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share some news with you tonight. This is my final performance with the Supremes. I'll be pursuing a solo career starting next month, but the Supremes will continue with new members." The studio audience gasped at the unexpected announcement, but what they couldn't see was the calculated cruelty of the timing and manner of Diana's revelation. This wasn't a mutual decision announced after careful consideration. This was a public execution disguised as a career announcement. Mary and Cindy stood beside Diana, maintaining their professional composure while experiencing one of the most humiliating moments of their careers. They had given their lives to the Supremes only to be discarded on national television without any input into the decision or the announcement. After the cameras stopped rolling, the backstage atmosphere was electric with tension and hurt feelings. Diana immediately left the studio without speaking to Mary or Cindy, making it clear that she considered their decade-long friendship to be over along with their professional partnership. Ed approached Mary and Cindy as they gathered their belongings, struggling to find words that could provide comfort in such a devastating situation. "I'm sorry this happened the way it did," Ed said quietly. "You both handled yourselves with incredible grace and dignity under impossible circumstances." Mary looked at Ed with eyes full of tears that she had been holding back throughout the performance. "Thank you for warning me, Mr. Sullivan. It didn't make it hurt any less, but at least we weren't completely blindsided. Diana may have ended the Supremes, but she didn't get to humiliate us the way she planned." The aftermath of Diana's Sullivan Show announcement was immediate and intense. Entertainment reporters who had been covering the Supremes for years were shocked by the cold manner of Diana's departure and the obvious pain it had caused Mary and Cindy. Many criticized Diana for handling her departure in a way that seemed calculated to maximize her own publicity while minimizing consideration for her former partners. "Diana Ross showed her true character tonight," wrote one music journalist. "She used the Ed Sullivan Show to execute a carefully planned betrayal of the women who had been her closest friends and musical partners for a decade. Success may have made her a star, but it also revealed her to be someone capable of breathtaking cruelty toward people who trusted her." The incident changed Ed Sullivan's opinion of Diana Ross permanently. While he continued to respect her talent, he never again viewed her as the warm, caring person he had once believed her to be. "That night taught me something about success and character," Ed reflected years later. Diana Ross was undeniably talented, but success revealed aspects of her personality that were deeply disappointing. She chose ambition over friendship, personal advancement over loyalty, and publicity over basic human decency. Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong attempted to continue the Supremes with new members, but the magic and chemistry that had made the original group special could never be recaptured. Diana's betrayal had not only ended the Supremes, it had destroyed the trust and friendship that had been essential to their success. Diana Ross went on to achieve enormous success as a solo artist, but her relationship with Mary Wilson remained damaged for decades. The manner of her departure from the Supremes became a cautionary tale about how fame and ambition can corrupt even the closest relationships. Ed Sullivan's decision to warn Mary Wilson about Diana's plans represented one of his most morally courageous moments, choosing to protect vulnerable people over maintaining relationships with more powerful performers. The story of the Supremes' breakup reveals the dark side of the music industry and the human cost of success when it comes at the expense of friendship and loyalty. It serves as a reminder that talent and success don't necessarily correlate with character and decency. If this story of betrayal and broken friendship moved you, hit that subscribe button and tell us, have you ever had to choose between loyalty to friends and personal advancement? Sometimes the most successful people are the ones who sacrifice their humanity to achieve their ambitions.